Hello and welcome to your SST class again, dear students. So we are back again with the same chapter which we have discussed earlier in our previous video. The chapter is chapter number third of history, ruling the countryside. And who were the rulers? Of course, yes, the British East India Company. And which country we are talking about? Our country, India. In the previous topics, students, we have discussed about the revenue system which were being used by the Britishers in the starting, in the initial phase, when they became the Nawab of Bengal. But that revenue system, the way they collected the revenue from the peasants, from the farmers, that was not feasible. It was not working in a proper way. So, new systems were devised for collecting the revenue. In the early 19th century, the British policymakers decided to make a change in the way of revenue collection. In the area of Bengal and present day UP, what we call as United Provinces, these areas were recommended a new system of revenue collection by Holt Mackenzie in year 1822. In year 1822, Holt Mackenzie introduced the new system of revenue collection. In this particular system, what was the scenario was the villages from where the revenue was to be collected were named as Mahal. Okay, they were named as Mahal, the villages from where the revenue was to be collected. And the second thing which was rectified in this particular system was that revenue would be revised periodically. It will be changed periodically. It will not be a permanent one, as we have learned earlier in the permanent settlement system. Okay, it was supposed to be revised periodically. Okay, next big change that was being done in particular type of system was that zamindars were not supposed to be collected the revenue. The revenue responsibility was given to the village headman. The person who was heading the village, he was supposed to collect the revenue. Okay, this particular system was called as Mahalwari system. Since the main object was termed as Mahal, this system was known as Mahalwari system of collecting the revenue. There are a few more systems of revenue collection and other topics to be discussed. We will continue in the same video. We will see that after this system which other things were prevalent. Okay, so be continued with the chapter. Okay, dear children, let's continue our topic. The another system of revenue collection that was introduced in a different part of India, the southern India, was something else. In the territories of South, the Ryotwar or Ryotwari system was being introduced. What happened was, as a trial in the small area by one of the British officials, Captain Alexander, he as a trial started this system in the small area, in a very small area of southern India. Then finally, after the war of Tipu Sultan and all, in his areas, this system was finally extended. It was more improved by Thomas Munro, and this system was implemented in entire southern India. Okay, in this system, again there were no zamindars. Okay, the revenue was being collected straight away from the cultivators directly. The cultivators were supposed to pay the revenue taxes, and those cultivators were called as riots. Okay, the cultivator, those who grow uh, grains in the field, were called as riots. That's why the system was prevalent as Ryotwari system. Ryotwari system. The earlier which we have discussed in this previous point was Mahalwari system, and this one was Ryotwari system. Okay. Also, it is also called as Monroe system many a times, as it was being advised by Thomas Monroe. But the things were not well. We have seen quickly the two revenue systems, fine, but still the things were not going in a proper way. Permanent settlement system we have seen, Ryotwari we have seen, Mahalwari we have seen, but still the Riots fled the countryside because of the taxes they had to pay. They tried to avoid those taxes and they fled away. They fled away from their duties, they fled away from their lands. Okay, and the villages became deserted. As the farmers eloped away from the field, the villages started getting deserted. Okay, there was no further cultivation grown in the village. We will see further in the same video that what all things were being changed by the Britishers, what all things were being introduced. Okay, students, now see, after the discussion of Monroe system, the Ryotwari system. Now, in this point, we will study that Europeans became more harsh. They became more business minded. Instead of behaving like an administrator, like an ruler, they straight away started acting like an businessmen. They were very peculiar about the type of crops which they wanted to get from India. By the late 18th century, East India Company required opium and indigo, okay, as a raw material for their textile industries, which they were running in Europe and India as well. Sorry, not Europe, in England. Okay, so they required opium and indigo. Indigo we will discuss in a more detail in this chapter. Okay, your more than half of the chapter is concerned with indigo only. Now, what they did is they starting forcing the farmers, forcing the agriculturists, forcing the cultivators to grow a particular type of variety in their area. In what way? They asked the farmers of Bengal to grow jute. Okay, jute is a type of a cash crop which is used in various purposes. Okay, then they asked the cultivators of Assam to grow tea, okay, the beverage, okay. Then the United Provinces farmers, United Provinces is the current day Uttar Pradesh, our state of India. They asked this area farmers to grow sugarcane, and wheat was being asked to grow by the farmers of Punjab, cotton from the state of Maharashtra, and rice from the state of Madras. Okay, the present day Chennai, Tamil Nadu area. So Britishers became very harsh and strict. They themselves prescribed this type of menu to the farmers that they will be growing only these crops in their agriculture field. So you can imagine the things became more worse for the farmers because they had a calculated mindset. They want opium and indigo from a particular area. From the other states, they want this particular thing. Okay, so let's see whether these things work for them or not. We'll continue in this video. Okay, dear students, now we are slowly moving to a different scenario of the chapter. After going through this forced policy of Britishers, let's come to some artistic work. Let's have some knowledge about the arts and the other things. We are on page number 30, 31. On page number 30, there are two pics mentioned, figure number 5 and figure number 6. Figure number 5 is a Kalamkari print from the state of Andhra Pradesh. It has some shade of a certain color. Figure number 6 is a pic of a cotton work which was being designed by William Morris. He was an artist of 19th century. There's a one thing common in both the figure is that there's a shade of a bluish color. Okay, so where this bluish color came from? This bluish color was being derived from the indigo plant, the color which we are getting from the indigo plant. So both the figures are having one thing in common, that is the bluish shade. So by the 19th century, the Morris prints became popular, okay, in India and the Britain as well. The Morris prints blue color was a prevalent thing, and the color was being derived from indigo. Okay, this thing became common in the fashion. Became that Morris prints were having a blue shade, and that blue shade was being derived from the indigo plant. In the 19th century, the Britain started using the indigo in a more surplus way that was being brought from India. Okay, now India became the world's largest supplier of indigo. India became the world's largest supplier of indigo. So that's it for the today. We will be discussing indigo in a very detailed manner about this its cultivation in our further explanation. So that's it for today, my dear children. We will be discussing the chapter further. Thank you and have a nice day.